Hi, I'm Dave from boyinaband.com, and welcome to day 6 of the collaborative 7-day song jump-up drum and bass tutorial featuring the insane skills of Noisestorm. Yesterday we finished up the synths and looked at vocal processing, and today we'll look at how Noisestorm and I structured the song, some of the fills we've used, and talk about our choice of notes. Okay, let's begin. First, let's take a look at the arrangement. Now, jump-up drum and bass, much like most DnB, and most electronic dance music in general, come to think of it, is comprised of breaks, builds, and drops. Now, a break is where the track loses its intensity. A build is where it starts to get more intense, and is generally where you'll get that speeding up drum pattern thing. And then the drop is the intense part where all hell breaks loose, kind of like the rapture. Oh wait, that didn't happen, did it? Gutted for those Christians. You should have believed a more plausible version of that religion, like Mormonism. When you're arranging the track, it's important to build anticipation for the drops and give time after them for the listener to mentally recover, ready for the next one. So let's take a look at how this track is arranged. Okay, so we start here with the intro for a good 16 bars. Then we have a build for 8 bars into the first drop. After the first drop, which is 16 bars, you can see it ends there. We've got a first verse break, which maintains the kind of intensity of the track, until the second drop here. Then we've got verse break number 2. Then we have the next build into drop number 3, another verse break, drop number 4, the fourth verse break into the full-on breakout, kind of like the intro, with another build to the final drop, and then the outro. So as you can see, the track ebbs and flows, with drops tending to congregate together in pairs around these verse breaks. They are a sociable species, and this allows for a decent amount of intensity to be maintained, without dropping too often and losing the listener's interest. This is usually for a club mix. Often a single mix will be shorter and have fewer drops than this. So let's take a closer look. The intro here has another breakbeat in there. This one is less processed and powerful than the main one, so it doesn't outdo the drop when that kicks in. So we've just got something like this. We've got the nice panning pad and the church organ-y kind of pad in there as well, and the piano comes in 8 bars through, just to maintain a bit of interest. Remember though, too much going on here and it's difficult for the DJ to mix into their set. There's that cool sweep sample you heard at the start there, which really fills out the track without adding extra melodic mess to get in the way of the DJ's mix, always a nice little trick. And the effect was simply added with a redrum instance from one of those nice combinator drum patches we made in day 1. Now the sample itself I think is from a Vengeance sample pack. So that beat filters in and out. I showed you how to filter with automation in day 5, and then we hit the build here. Now, the lead synth comes in, as do the ARPs, if we can find them down here. And these come into play to build anticipation. Then the break drops out, as you can see, just to signal a change in the song. The bass starts to filter in. We can see that in this filter lane here. And that toned down pad drops out as well, just to leave space in the mix for more anticipation in that bass. We have a nice reverse effect sample building here to the little fill before the drop, and I'll talk more about this fill in part 2. Now, as you saw earlier, the drums do that stereotypical tried and tested speeding up of the kick as well. And here we go. And then the drop. Here we are. The main beat with the elements we built in day 1 are all here. We've got the one-shots, the break beat here, and those hi-hats as well. The drums are much more intense than those in the intro, so it feels like we've really arrived at the main chorus of the song. And the bass riff is fully opened up, none of that filtering on there. And to join our pad, we've got the high pad that we made as well, just filling out the track to really brighten the drop so it feels bigger. And near the end, we have another reverse effect, and that quick high-pitched pad building to the verse break, which is this next 16-bar section. You can kind of see it separated by these vocals, which incidentally keep the drop catchy. You'll notice slight variations in the fills for each drop as well. If you don't add these kinds of variations, it starts to get very repetitive. So, that verse break I mentioned, it drops out the crash from the hi-hats if we take a quick look here. As you can see, it's there in the drop, but not so much in the verse break. The pads also take a rest for the first time, and that lead synth comes back in. The ARPs join it 8 bars inwards, and then there's another quick reverse and into the second drop, which is the same as the first drop, only with slightly different fills going on. Then you'll notice that we have a copy and pasted version of what we've already had. Kinda, except the intro comes across with more of a verse break. This section here has a lot of the same elements as the intro, However, the bass goes through it. It's filtered down though, so it doesn't take too much focus. And the arps are in there, and the piano, they instead take the 4, with that pretty pad filling it out. Then we have that build again, with those drums, another drop with different fills, a verse break here, which has a variation on the piano line, which is quite nice, just to keep it interesting, as well as this time it has the crash going through it on the hi-hats, all the way through. Don't take that out this time. It's just so the song feels like it's building up a bit. Then we've got another drop, and the intro verse break, and then we come to a full-on breakout here. You can see that orange-looking break beat in there again. Since we've had a lot of intensity, so it's time to give the listeners a break to recuperate. Same arrangement as the intro, same kind of filtering and beat, and this build here to the next drop, the last drop, is a lot more intense, mainly as a result of this pitch bend synth that we put together in day 5. Then we've got the final drop, with probably my favourite fill in the whole track, and then we hit the outro, where the arps come in and we have that soft pad, and those vocals simply echoing out, with a simple melody change courtesy of Neptune. And it's filtering down just to close it up nicely. Those arps also have reverb on them. And if we take a look here at the track lane for the reverb, you can see that I turn the dry wet all the way up to full over the period of that outro. So it gets less and less prominent and kind of like it's fading into an abyss. I love that movie. So yeah, just filtering it all up and fading it out so the DJ can mix into the next track. And there we have it, 5 minutes of awesomeness. Now, one last thing to mention. Some of you guys might find that editing the automation of things like we've done here directly is quite messy since it makes new track lanes and it can get clunky and confusing, in which case I'd advise routing parameters to combinators, which I teach you how to do in all my other 7-day songs. Here I was trying out Noise Storm's workflow, which, while it might add extra track lanes, is also much faster to work with since you don't have to faff about with each combinator's programmer. It really depends whether you want to be the organised kind of person or if you find the speed of getting your ideas down is more important than that. So, join me in part 2 where we'll explain those fills and the notes we've used.